Welcome. This is Bruce Herwig with the Redlands Camera Club, and tonight I'll be talking about my experience shooting the Aurora and the Comet this past week. It's been 2 weeks of very rare astronomical events, and our speaker unfortunately was not able to join us this evening, so I'm jumping in and looking forward to sharing. I didn't have the normal prep time that I normally do for one of these things. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity for questions. Basically going to be running this off of my Lightroom, so you're going to see my raw files as well as my edited files, and I'll be talking about those. For the Comet, that was very unique, and I heard about it, but you hear about it before you see it. So I'm going to share my screen, and there's great anticipation for some of these things. Uh, and the Aurora, same thing. Can you see my screen?
Oh, we can.
All
Yes.
right, thank you. The Aurora was we had a class Aurora class, the class system. Let's see, go ahead and minus this. That's wrong thing. Aurora Borealis. All right. So there are different ways to classify the aurora, and uh, it has a color system, and the sun actually does its deal in the sky. It is depending on which part it is lighting. So when the sun does, the sun sends out this supercharged stuff because the Earth has a magnetic core, just like a magnet that you see, in your grade school science textbook. That's exactly what happens, and then it concentrates typically on the poles. And so the field is bright enough that typically you only see it in the high northern hemispheres, up top here, and actually on the south as well. But up top in Canada, Iceland, I just saw Wayne Purcell had some beautiful ones up in Alaska, and that's typically where it's seen. But when you have these storms, this was a Geo Class 4, very similar to hurricanes, actually. The hurricanes systems that they have, it's a Class 1 hurricane, Class 2 hurricane, Class 3 hurricane, and so forth. So I was listening about um, the aurora that was coming in. It actually came back in May. Let's see, Aurora. This was May. Joshua Tree. I think it was May. Um, well, it came and it was very light. Well, it was heavy one day, and then so people want to go see it the next day, and it was very, very light. And so the next time that I saw it was during the Perseids. Actually, this was didn't plan on it. Thomas Jackson and I were out um, at the north. Boom. We were up at Red Rock State Park, and he said, "Oh, the auroras are kicking in Europe." And I'm thinking, well, what does that have to do with me? And come to find out, most of the time you can't see the aurora, especially down when it comes south, with your eyes. but the phones will get it. In fact, when back in May when I was out trying to catch the aurora on the second day, again, it was big on the first day, not so much on the second day. I was shooting a time lapse. Some girls came over and they said, "Look, there's this pink on our phones. I think that's the aurora." And I go, "No, no, no, no. Let me see it. That's just light pollution. I don't know what your phone is doing. You got it wrong." Well, ate humble pie as I'm looking at my camera as I get home. I didn't see anything with my eyes, but there's this pink stuff on the screen. And sure enough, that was the aurora. And it was just very slight. It came and went in a half hour. It rose, it was there, and then it set. This one in the park, you could see it was over here on the right hand side, and it just stayed pink. I didn't see anything flashing or moving. It just was a general pinkishness in the air. And so this is twice now that it's came down south this far. And so the people that I follow online, they were saying, "Oh, there's this you know, it's a hurricane level 4 geostorm, solar storm flare type stuff." And it's like, okay, uh, I it was supposed to be last 2 weeks ago as well. I went out with my brother and we didn't see anything, not a thing. So we tried it again, and I think I saw somebody had taken a picture um, up in Big Bear. So I'm just poking around here in Big Bear. Let me go to display. Yeah, I'm shooting the moon. Yeah, I didn't think anything of it. I was thinking that probably when I went up to Big Bear, somebody was going to, I would be there. I would wait till 10:30, drive home, and then find out that the aurora came at 2 or 3 in the morning. And I had no idea if it was going to show up or not. The chance, it said possibly, but I didn't know for sure. And so again, I'm trying to shoot. Here's the S curve. Oh, I thought that was fun. And I'm out and trying a new place. Let me see. Wanted to try this on my phone. Share my phone to the. Oh. So date card, and I try to spot new places to go. And so we were looking on our phone, and we always look. It's always a good idea to find out where the astronomy guys go. That's an easy place to go. And so Sky Beach Park is where we thought we'd. They had an event at Sky Beach Park, so we thought we'd go to Sky. I thought I'd go to Sky Beach Park and check it out. Didn't know what I would find, and it was a great location for looking up, a lousy location for landscape. So I'm walking around, because there's a big fence there. Come to find out, there's a big fence there. And I see this scarlet stuff in the sky, take a picture, and I almost fall out of my chair. This is with the phone. And this was about as pink as I've ever seen on the phone. Well, I'm in a lousy location for for shooting anything foreground wise. So I book it over to Boulder Bay. Got about a 12-minute drive to Boulder Bay. Now, knowing that last time that I saw this, the again back in May, where it came up and went back down really, really quick, I thought maybe I'm going to miss it. Maybe it's been on all this time. Because it was only 7:37. It was relatively early as it got dark. And so I rushed over to Boulder Bay, uh, taking my foreground shots here, taking my foreground shot first, using an F-16. I want to get get the sky, and then take the sky separate. Jim Hendon, you were talking about the moon. It's just too bright and the foreground's too dark. Anytime I do any nighttime shooting, I always shoot the sky separate than the foreground, and then you blend them together. It's the equivalent of an HDR, is what you're going to be doing there. And so it was just trying to get my bearings in terms of, where am I aiming? Is the Northern Lights there? And so when I saw it, I was like, oh, I could. And this is the exciting part to me. They were actually, let me see if I bump up the clarity here. Um, don't know if you can see the vertical lines here. Normally, I had just seen pinkishness. I had never seen lines in the sky. So that was a different level of aurora that I was looking at. And so this was a composite that I put together of the two of this angle here. So the sky shot separate than the foreground. Now the sky, in terms of EXIF data, ISO 800. I was at my 24 millimeter f4, 30 seconds. Um, you don't want to get too long because you'll start getting star trails, and those can be those could be detrimental and disruptive. But in this case here, again, I was just trying to see what I was going to get, and I was super pleased with the pink that was happening here. So I moved the camera up because I wanted to get higher there. Can the foreground would drop lower. Again, shooting my foregrounds separate. So now I'm widening it up. I'm going a lot wider. And the surprise, surprise, the northern lights are found facing north. So you could tell north is over to the right here in terms of this blue, uh, in terms of the blue here. That's red is right over here. So I was going wider because I wanted to go taller. And here's Boulder Bay, and I'm at 15 millimeter, and you can see already the distortion here, pulling this tree straight, and then over here you can see this 15 millimeter. That's kind of crooked as well. So it was after shooting it, blending it together. This is the uncorrected version, still um, crooked. And then after straightening it out, there's my final version. I'm going to go full screen on that. Here's my final version of the Aurora. Just trying to the sky being overwhelmed with color. Now, what's interesting here, Rick Strobaugh, we've shot this before. This house here, they changed their they changed their LEDs, which has a totally different color temperature. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I may end up recolorizing this white here, add some yellow to it, or I might keep it. I'm not sure on what I'm going to do. But again, shooting that foreground separately, I was able to get the starbursts, which in this case I was pleased with. I think it adds a nice little Thomas Kinkade twinkle to it. So then I wanted to figure it, I was like, okay, this is going, it's still going. Let me go over to the dam because I know that's facing north. And so I went over to the dam and took the picture, and I said, damn, what is this green over here in my photo? And if anybody shot at the dam at night, that is the green light that reflects off this right. So I was waiting for a yellow light to try to eliminate that green from happening. Maybe even a red light might be better. It might be easier to take off. Wasn't sure how far down I could go in terms of showing the dam or showing the lake. Wasn't sure what to do, but definitely there was something going on pink wise in the sky. To pull that in. It's pink up there somewhere. So after I blended those two together, I decided to go with a mid shot there. Use the I like the long exposure of the people driving on the left. Same thing with the right. Little bit of water, and then that aurora. But you can already tell that it didn't have that same ripple that I saw. So auroras this far, I think I already told you, are rare. So I had the car, I had the time. So I said, I'm going to go to Joshua Tree. So I drove down the other side of the mountain into Apple Valley. And every 15 minutes, I would stop by the side of the road carefully, take my phone out, and point north and see if there was still pink. And sure enough, there was still pink. So I kept going. Another 15 minutes, I'd pull over because there's no way I'm driving all the way out there if it's gone. But it kept showing. And I was very grateful then. Um, First stop was Quail Springs. Quail Springs is a very it's the very first stop in Joshua Tree. And again, just to get my bearings, trying to figure out what I'm seeing, immediately faced what I thought was north. And so I've got a beautiful photo here of the outhouse with the aurora. But I knew where the aurora was. Yes, there it is. It's still north, or I'm sure yeah, still north. So just to the left here is this bunch of rocks. This is I've shot this in the past. A car drove by, lit this tree up for me nicely. That was beautiful. The aurora in the background. Get a little bit of that blue and light. I think that gives it a nice look to it. Thought I could do something here with intersection rock just because it's a known rock. Wasn't as pleased with it. I got the Pleiades, which is nice up here, but the rock was just looked like a rock. It had no context in terms of size. Then I went to my favorite. This is my favorite tree in Joshua Tree. If you've had a chance to shoot with me out in Joshua Tree, I oftentimes will end up here. This is called Behemoth. I've named it. Um, so it's mine. It's 28 feet tall, at least that tall. And I knew that it was facing in the right direction. And I was super pleased to have captured this photo here. And again, a car driving by lit this up nicely. Actually, the moon was low in the horizon. So we had a little bit of moon doing some of the light painting for me in that case. And then I went across the street just to try to see what I could see down there. Not every photo is glorious, but compositionally wise, um, or deserves the editing. You can take a look at it, and maybe if I take this off here, that could be interesting. I'd need to work on the sky a bit, uh, punch it up a little bit, but that's not again, not every photo is going to that you take is going to be a masterpiece. You just got to get them while you can. And so again, it wasn't rippling. What I really wanted to do was take a time lapse and to see it move or up and down if it faded. But it was a work day. I had work in the morning, and so I had to get back. So I was back home by 12:30 that night, and was just I had to work the next day, so I couldn't edit my photos till the day after. I was just thrilled to have uh, to have taken those. And so the lesson there, I guess, for the Aurora is if you're able, they don't come that often. There's a possibility there's going to be more this year, maybe, maybe not. So, questions on the Aurora? Who's got a question about the Aurora?
I do, Bruce.
Yep, Tom.
Where'd you get the information about when the Aurora Borealis was going to hit? Or did you just walk
There's an
out?
app out there. I don't use the app. I usually follow the guys who have the apps, who tell me what they're going to be doing.
Is
Uh,
it photo pills?
Now, photo pills, they do have it. I don't know that they give you the warnings. It's just the crowd that I hang around with on
Okay.
Instagram. They get excited. Actually, what's interesting is the guys in Europe, they get their, it shows over there first, and then it kind of makes its way down. And
Okay.
so they get their photos. I see what they shot that last night, and then then I see what the ratings were. Yes, Russ.
There's an app that's free. You can have to pay for the pro, but it'll give you a 30-minute enhancement of what the Aurora is doing. And it's called Aurora. Sorry, just a second. It's called.
And for those of you who shot the Aurora up north, either in Alaska or Iceland, um, there it's much more common up there. Russ, you went mute. We can't hear you. Oh,
He's not mute.
no, he's not
Um,
mute, but he couldn't hear. Ashley, I see your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to know if you can repeat the settings that you use to capture these wonderful images.
Sure, it was ISO 800 f4 30 seconds.
Thanks.
So F4 meaning I'm opening it up. I could go 2.8 if I wanted to, but I wanted a little bit of depth of field on the foreground. So I had that. And then 30 seconds, you can try 30, 20, somewhere in there. But if you go too much longer, then you get your stars start to trail. I was at 15 millimeter, so I was really, really wide. So the rule of 500 here is, if you're not familiar with that, that'll tell you how long you can expose without getting star trails. It's a rough rule. It's a good place to start. So if you're shooting with the 50 millimeter into 500, that would be 500 into 50, that would be 10 seconds before it trails. So if you go 24, that would give you about 20 seconds. I was at 15, 15 into 500, 20 some seconds. So that was an ish. I erred on the side of more light than sharp stars. So wider's better in that case over there. Any other questions on the Aurora? Let me just Wayne. I'm going to go to our. I'm going to go back to sharing. Wayne shared some on the photo blog, and there were just beautiful shots up in. So I go to the photo blog. I go to our website, photo blog. If you are a member and you don't have access, just email me. I'll have instructions there. But here were two shots that he took up in Alaska. And you can see he had not only had he had the purple, the red, and the green. And so that's different hitting different parts of the atmosphere. Just gorgeous, unbelievable pictures here that he got. He went up to Alaska to shoot the aurora specifically. This is near Fairbanks, he says. I think I saw another one of his. Here we go. Whew. Wowzers. And so it's hitting different parts of the atmosphere again, getting those different colors, and he's able to capture that. When it's dancing like that, you can't go 30 seconds or it kind of mushes together. So that way you have to then drop the exposure time. I've heard 4 seconds, 6 seconds, 10 seconds, which means that you better be shooting at a low f-stop to again let in more light. Then you may have to bump up your ISO to 1600, maybe even 3200, and that's where noise reduction features happen. Again, up in Fearbay. 25 degrees. Ah, that's chilly. And he says he got the Big Dipper here, and sure enough, here's the Big Dipper. One, two, three. Up, 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 up. Very nice. And again, the Big Dipper always points to the North Star, so he was definitely pointing in the right direction. I'm going to move to the comet. The comet was discovered. Comet cement. Comet.
Bruce, while you're transitioning, Russ, we have a request in the chat that maybe you can put the name of that app in the chat for us.
Thank you.
And Russ, if you can hear me, we can't hear you.
So this was the name of the comet. So C, it means that it isn't, it's not a P. If you see comet P, that means it's periodic. It means it's going to come down, it comes in on a regular basis. This is C, it does not. It was discovered in 2023. Not sure what this means, but the place that discovers it, they get to be part of the name. So it was discovered in Japan, out of a place in Japan. So that's, I'm not going to disrespect the language by trying to pronounce it, but that's how it got its name. They say it came out of the Oort cloud, and so any comet that has the chance of being bright. I'm not sure how many of you are around when Neowise was there. That was 5 years ago. So we haven't had a comet as bright as Neowise for 5 years. So when these things come, you want to be prepared as best you can. And actually, I did my homework on mostly on the computer. Actually, I use Astro app. This is a desktop app. It's free. It's for Mac or PC, called Stellarium. 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 And it is a free planetarium, basically. So I'm able to move time forwards and backwards, day or night, up or down, from the comfort of my home, and I can find out where the Milky Way is. I can see what the location is, which way that it's facing, which is really helpful in pre-planning. And so I was using, in this case here, it started 3 weeks ago, actually in the southern hemisphere. They were able to see it, but in the northern hemisphere, it was too close to the horizon. So I'm going to change the date over here. You can see I'm going to move it. I'm going to back it up till I know that it's facing in the west here, and we'll move some of the dates back here to the 12th when I first started shooting it. And I can just search for the comet. So I typed in C/203 and its name popped up. So here it is in the sky. And on the 12th, you could see that it is really low to the ground. So that would, and in the west, what sets in the west? Well, the sun sets in the west. So the brighter it is, the more difficult it is to see. So let me move it a day. Ooh, moved higher in the sky. Same time, higher in the sky, higher in the sky, higher in the sky. So it's moving up as we go. And if we look at today's date, it's getting higher, and it's moved. It's getting smaller because it's going farther away, however fast that it's traveling. So I'm able to then find out how fast or where it is and wait till it's dark. Or I didn't realize how good it would be earlier in the week when it was relatively low to the ground. but that means we only had like a half hour, 45 minutes to photograph it. So you've got this window, and so you can see it setting with Venus. So in this case here, in order to spot it, it was between Venus and Arcturus. So right in the middle, smack dab middle. So I was able to spot it in the day. So the first time that I was able to shoot it was on the 12th. I think that was a Sunday. I'm gonna jump out of here, back over to Lightroom, go over to my library. This was something that I shot in Redlands. Comet number 1 over here. Okay. So I got there. I heard that it was a naked eye comet, which means that you could actually see it during the with your unaided eye. So I didn't know how naked eye it was going to be. I was hoping that it was going to be like Hale Bopp or whatever. You could actually see it during the daytime. The answer is no, I could not. And I was thinking that it was going to be over on this side. You can see the San Bernardino Mountains here. You can see the familiar hump over by the pass. I was up at Panorama Point. It's always a good place because I'm a little bit higher in the sky. So, getting the sunset, trying to get my foreground. Again, shooting the foreground separate. You can tell by the stars, the star pattern, that I'm using some sort of high F number over here. So that's a possibility as a foreground. Seeing what that's going to do. And then I was just waiting. I didn't know exactly when I was going to be able to see it. So I'm up here at the point that if you've been up to Panorama Point, there's that stone wall. Some usually there's some couples that are up there. Well, some two kids on a scooter came up. They're in their middle school age, two boys, and they were wondering. They were talking about my camera, and I told them that I was looking for a comet, and they go, "Oh, we've seen some other people with telescopes out, and we were trying to figure out what was going on." And I said, okay, great. You guys have young eyes. This is about where it's going to be. And I showed them on the phone. This is, here's Venus over here. Here's Arcturus. It's going to be in the middle. But you got to help me find it. And sure enough, these two kids started to be able to spot it in the sky way before I could. So they were jumping up and down. It was very exciting. So it's around here. It's this is me still shooting for it. It's around here somewhere, but the camera was able to pick it up before I was. So I was able to verify it with the camera before uh, and that was able to help me aim. Let me find it here on my phone. Shoot it over. Boom. Okay, here it is. So this was taken with the phone. And can I zoom in on this? There is the comet here. So the phone is a big help. It's actually able to get these things before I was able to see it with my eyes. But actually, once I spotted it, so I knew that again, here was Venus, and here's where it was, and then I'm able to line it up. Okay, here's the little crook in the rock, and so I'm looking up and then could finally spot it. And then finally, eventually, I'm able to see it in the camera. So here's the notch. Well, it's like, am I shooting high enough yet? I'm not sure exactly what I'm. Ha! Finally, finally, I get success where it's not high enough. I know where it is. It's finally gotten dark enough. And that was the key to seeing it, was it had to be dark enough. And so once it got dark enough, separation between the earth, the setting sun, and the sky, you could actually start to see it. So now that I knew where it was, I could then start working on my composition. Here's the comet. So I was trying we were talking about too long of exposures. Well, here's what happens when you get too long of an exposure, and this was 20 seconds. I'm at 100 millimeters, so I'm zoomed in a whole lot more. Remember, 20 at 100 millimeters into 500, that means I should only shoot at 5 seconds, but I shot at 20 seconds. So I clearly have a trail here, and that which is distracting. So that was too long. So if my ISO is at 100, I should be able to bump up my ISO or lower the time. So I started dropping it down. Okay, 15 still a little too long. So at this point, I'm just experimenting with what am I seeing? Where am I going to go? What's a good, all right, here's a pinpoint. What are my settings here? So I bumped my ISO to 1600. So from 100 to 1600, I'm shooting with my 70 to 200. So I was at 100 millimeters here. And for 0.5 seconds, that's probably, I could go a little bit longer than that. And my composition is starting to pull in, getting the comet a little bit more. And then this is where I ended up with blending my foreground in with the background. So it was a nice comet, not too long to be distracting here. And then was able to get some detail in the foreground. So this was my first shot, first attempt to shoot the comet over there. And you can see maybe you do more, do less. What was my ultimate composition going to be? And that's where I ended up. So that was comet attempt night number 1. So next night it's going to move higher. So let me stop real quick. Questions on shooting from panorama point, camera settings, experience. Again, I didn't know I knew because of the apps, I knew where it was going to go. The phone, just like the Aurora, the phone is a tremendous help. It could see it before I could. And then once I had that, I was able to dial in my composition.
Bruce, can you tell us what the app was again that you were using?
The app that I use on the computer is Stellarium. Stellarium. All right, I'm going to put that in the chat. That is the free one. It's free for Mac and PC. Stellarium. That's a great desktop app. I also use a paid app on my iPhone. I'm going to share my screen and I'll show you that one as well. This one, share screen to here. All right, Sky Guide is what I use. Upper right-hand corner, Sky Guide. And this is handy in that you could type on the compass here, and wherever I point here, I'm pointing in the room, anywhere that I point, so it'll see what's in the sky. I think I could go sideways. There we go. Yeah, make it go sideways as well. So you could also do a search for objects. So again, I had searched for that comet, C 2023, type that in. And this app has, I call it Jack Sparrow's compass. No matter wherever I point, it'll tell me where I want to go. So it points it right over there. And it's right now, this is live. That's west. So you can see exactly where the comet is going to be in the sky. And then what's handy is I can change the date. I can speed up time if I want. I can move and find out exactly what time, what's going to be where. I can change the date. And so these apps are incredibly handy in terms of figuring out my compositions at night. So there's the rising moon. That's the moon's going to be rising up later at 10:21. It'll be rising. Jupiter will be over there. So these little apps are incredibly handy.
Thank you.
Yep. So I didn't want to drive yet because but I did want to shoot something local while it was still low in the sky. So I went over to the Estancia and let's move over to, come on, oh, hide.
Bruce, there's a question in chats.
Go
from
ahead.
Donald. Where is Panorama Point?
Just do a search for it. It's you exit the Yucaipa exit, Panorama Point. It overlooks the entire valley, off of Sunset. But just do a Google search for it. Panorama Point, also known as The Point. So I was at the Estancia. Again, it's going to be around here somewhere because I know that I'm facing west. In fact, you can see where the sunset is. Sunset's over here, so it's west. So it's going to be coming down here. So I got there early. In fact, I was there at a meeting earlier. I came about a half hour earlier. I have the app out. I'm walking around the Estancia, planning where my shot is going to be. The problem with this particular location is they have these lamps that have the old sulfur light bulbs in it, so it's incredibly difficult. It shoots this super yellow lighting on the foreground and makes it very difficult to shoot. So trying to figure out where the comet is, where it's going to be. Finally getting it. It's finally dark enough where I can start to see it. You know, it's there, but it's too bright down here. It has to be dark enough. So that was the key lesson there. But then all of a sudden the tail goes like, shoot, this tail is unbelievably long, which was kind of a surprise, pleasant surprise, especially since our lighting. So I'm all the way back. I'm using 81 millimeter at this focal length. So I'm using my 70 to 200 as a good place to start. I'm all the way back, the further back that I get, the bigger I can make the comet look. There's an optical illusion that happens. Because the comet stays the same size, the foreground shrinks, and you pull that, and it makes everything look bigger. It's how we get the moon, the moon behind things. You go way far back, and so I'm working on my composition. This lens itself, the tallness of both the subject matter and the comet, lend it to a vertical composition. So that's what I was working on in this one over here. And super pleased with what I got here at the Estancia. Again, grounding this object in the sky with something on the ground. So you've got the celestial and the terrestrial, but it's also a known place. It's not just a rock or a tree. Everybody who knows the Estancia or knows Redlands knows this place. So this is going to be one of those classic images that I do a lot of Redlands shooting anyway. The bummer is it is a vertical, which I do my calendars. I can't use this in my as a calendar shot because my calendars are all horizontal. So when it got lower, we were playing. I was with a friend here. We were playing with it in the trying to get it between the trees as a consolation prize. This was an interesting shot here. But again, those yellow lights are just oof, so brutal. So this was we're talking about generative AI, what is allowed, what is not allowed. All right, here are trash cans in the shot. In the olden days, you would have to take the clone tool and go down here and then take some of the bushes and anybody remember that? That was just a pain. Now it's just you hit the remove tool and you can creatively crop, which is one option here. Just crop them out or darken them up. That's other option. The other option though is just to take them out. Let the computer do its thing, and it did a great job. Their trash cans are no longer there, and no one is the wiser except you. So the Estancia was a fun place to shoot it. And now I'm ready to go out because I was only had as you saw as time moved on, the comet moved higher, which meant that I had more time with it to shoot. So if I'm going to drive someplace to Joshua Tree, for example, that's an hour and 15 minutes. That, if it's an hour and 15 minutes there, an hour and 15 minutes back, typically my rule of thumb is whatever the drive time is, that's how long I want to shoot it. So that would be 2.5 hours there and back, which means I want to stay at that location 2.5 hours. Well, at least I got to have a half hour or so to shoot it. So this was my experience shooting. So I went to Joshua Tree. I waited for it to get a little bit higher. I wasn't going to be that long. So again, first, just trying to figure out what could a composition be? What might a composition be? I had two cameras set up. I was doing a time lapse over here to see you're just okay where there it is, too bright, there it is. It's getting, moving my figure it out. There's some trees. Oh, okay. And then started a time lapse. So this actually is a video time lapse that I did YouTube. I'll pop that in the chat as well. My account, view your channel. Copy. I don't think I could put something in the chat while I'm talking. I have to stop and share that later. But there's a time lapse there that I put together. And from that time lapse, then I was able to get a nice clip, a single shot. Again, showing the length of this in the sky over here. Foreground being lit by the moon, which is very unusual. Because normally I'm shooting the Milky Way, I don't have a chance to shoot I'm not shooting with the moon to light the foreground. I actually like that a lot. I'm going to now try to plan my shots where the moon is just setting, but what was happening, I'm starting to see people get this point out of the comet, and I'm not seeing that in my photos. I'm going, what's wrong with me? This was just a fun attempt. Change the color of the sky, but man, I like that a lot. It's totally fake, but shoosh, it looks good to my eyes. But this was the single shot that I got from that time lapse. Then I went to shoot longer 200 millimeter to try to get just the comet itself. So now I'm at 135 millimeters, ISO 1600 f4 for 2 seconds. I found that. And then with these shots, I was able to get this anti-tail. You can see the line here coming down. It looks like a laser beam coming out of that. So this is a blend of 14 different shots taken together for noise, blended together for noise. What happens is when you take uh, an underexposed image, this was with my Canon 6D. So this is a camera that's at least a decade old now. So it's relatively old technology. There, when you push it, you get some pretty bad noise. And I was getting lines. Let's see if you could see the red here. And trying to just emphasize it. Not sure what's coming over through Zoom, but there's some pretty bad noise in here. You see the red is splotchy over there. So if you average pictures out, you put it as layers, you turn it into a smart object, and then you can average out the noise and just get the signal. So your signal to noise ratio is good. But I was this right now is on my phone as my home screen. So when I look at the time, I've got this picture over here. I was super pleased with that, how that one turned out. So now I'm going to the next Joshua Tree. I went to the second day, and this one, so fourth time shooting the Comet, second time in Joshua Tree, wanted something different. So it ended up at, oh, where was it? You go Quail's View, Boy Scout, and then Hemingway. So this was Hemingway. I wanted more rocks in this shot. So the Comet was starting to get there. I have a couple of different trees that I'm after. And again, part of it is just waiting for the Comet to get in place. Again, as the Comet starts to set, that's going to get in play. Again, just would take different shots, different compositions. All right, now it's getting lower. This is looking good. I'm liking how that's looking. In all foreground lit by the moon, which looks like it's almost daytime when you do a long exposure. And I'm not sure what's showing up, but you can just start to see a little bit of that anti-tail coming up, which was again super pleased to see that. Different compositions, different trees, trying to emphasize the length of this thing. It is so big. And then again, I mentioned that art begets art. I saw this photo on online. Somebody they were having a picture, and it was of them like pointing at the comet, almost touching it. It's like, that is a fun idea. Let me try that. Let me see if I can find it here. Like, that is a great idea. Let me experiment with that. So I had some friends out. Let me share this. Again, you can see what the inspiration was and then what became of it. So this was the photo here. It was a silhouette, person pointing at the comet, touching it. It's like, oh, that is fun. So we got the iPhones out, and I think I can share. So this is a different way to share the iPhone. All right, so I'm controlling the iPhone by my photos. Yes. So this is taken totally with the iPhones, not with any totally lit by the light of the moon. So this is just with the iPhones. Like, this is so fun. So I had to move. It's like, okay, let me try again. Oops, too far. Move over. You know, half a step back. Uh, oh, then a car drove by. It lit up his face. So then, that was as close as we got. So that's the one that we used there. I thought, well, maybe I could take a selfie with the comet. That would be no, you cannot take a selfie with the comet. Um, but so then it's like, okay, it's my turn. You get out there. He did a much better job of pointing. So this was with the iPhone. It's like, well, what can we do with the camera? And ended up doing a two photo shoot on this one for me. And then again, because I was using such a shallow depth of field, one for the background, and then blended those two together. And so this is a comet catcher, and I think my favorite photo from one of my favorite photos of the evening, for sure. So art inspires art. And so that photo inspired me. I hope this photo inspires you. And so I went out a couple more times. I'm not going to go into all of those. Uh, Oh, Crestline. Oh, just real quick. I went up to Crestline. This was the day that all those lamps, all the fog came in. So it was very difficult to see. Plus, you had the light of the full moon. It was blowing out the comet, the details in the comet. So I was too high. I missed my pullout, wasn't able to get it. Waited a few days, went back, found the pullout that I wanted to get to, and did the same thing in terms of trying to find the comet first, figuring out if you look at how many shots, okay, anticipating, I wasn't sure exactly where it's going to be, trying to find the darn thing. Because remember, a couple days had gone by, it's moved way up in the sky now. It's around here somewhere. I don't know, but the phone found it. And well, shoot, am I going to go vertical? Am I too high? Am I too low? Just half the deal is finding it. And finally got it in place. And this was the composition I finally went with. Actually, this is the one that I sent in. So again, the foreground, trying to get the detail in the foreground. So I blended half a dozen shots together to help reduce the noise on that. Was able to then bring the shadows up, bring the detail, make sure that I had a car trail going around here using there's Venus and then the comet overlooking the valley. So I was very pleased with this final shot. And then that was the second time that I went to Crestline. And I've got one more shot up my sleeve. And so in terms of planning, I'm going to go back to Stellarium. Just this will be for tomorrow night. Again, the comet is getting higher in the sky. It's getting farther away. So that means there's less light. So I have my tracker, my star tracker. Remember, it's going west. Comet is here. This is exactly the position of it now. The Milky Way is actually southwest. Let me do a search for the comet so you can see it a little bit easier. So I am going for this shot right here, where I've got the Milky Way on the left and the comet on the right, all in one shot. So that'll be a track shot, meaning I'll put it on a star tracker. It will do a long exposure, and hopefully I'll get both. Hopefully the comet isn't too small, and hopefully the horizon isn't too bright. So I've got one more. That's my last shot of the comet for this time. So a couple of things that I've learned. having missed shots of the aurora is making sure that when opportunity hits, make sure, luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. And so, man, you're lucky. Well, yeah, I've been practicing for years. Went back to the Neowise photos that I took 5 years ago, and was looking at those, and different compositions, and looking online, being inspired by the photos that are online, and then taking advantage of, not everybody has the time or the inclination. I was grateful to have that opportunity to be able to do that, not having having the comet at sunset made it really easy. I could leave, get to Joshua Tree, be back. I was home by 10. That's not too bad. And I was actually able to edit them that night, which is pretty inspiring to be able to, plan it, shoot it, edit it all in one day. That's really good feedback for the next time that I'm going to shoot that next day. So, Dan, you were saying what time was this? Which photo were you referring to?
I think the one when you were pointing.
The one that I was pointing, that was as it was setting. Um, Joshua
Yes, very
Tree.
close to the horizon.
Yeah, very close. So on that day, it was still early in the week. So that was a Tuesday. So it was still really close to the ground at that time. Joshua Tree 2, I can tell you exactly the time. Look at the EXIF data. Library info. That was at 7:57. So close to 8 o'clock.
That's nice and early.
Yeah, very nice and early. But then then after we took those, we left because it started dipping below. The lower it gets, not only do you have you start to a lot more atmosphere gets in the way. So clouds, light pollution is much lower. So the higher in the sky, so this is one of those, this comet was it had some unique qualities. The lower it is, the closer to the sun, so the harder it is to see. The later it is, the higher it was, the farther away it was, so it got smaller, but it was easier to see. So part of the visibility of the comet is actually how close it is to the sun, and then the moon started to interfere with it because the moon went into full moon mode and was just blasting the sky. That's the same reason we don't shoot Milky Way under a full moon, because it blows out the faint details. It was doing the same thing to the comet. So the day or two after, where it's like, okay, there's only 10 minutes of window before when it's night and before the moon rises. Okay, I'm not going to drive to Joshua Tree to do that, but I would drive up to Crestline. So that was my compromise of where could I drive that was fast enough but close enough, because there's just this little window to shoot it. Not only a window in terms of just this week or two. Another thing I found out personally is, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's comet photos. There is some beautiful stuff that is going on online. And I've found that's because they're way up north at a much higher latitude. So their setting sun, it was much higher. So it was much darker. So they were able to do a lot more things with it. It was also the guys in the Southern Hemisphere. They were getting some great pictures of it, but it's faced the other direction. They were able to put different things in front of it, which was crazy. Michelle, you actually shot the photo and you did a great job and you put that on the photo blog. Tell me about that experience.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. I'm wondering how those guys discovered this comet if it's only going to come around once. I don't know. But my sister is in northeast part of Arizona, out on an Indian reservation right now, and it's very dark there. And so she called me Sunday night. She goes, "Did you look at the comet?" I said, "No." It's like I kind of didn't. I was just driving back from a wedding, so I didn't even know what was going on. She goes, "You got to see it. The tail is beautiful." I said, "Okay." So I planned on going out the next night. I have the Canon EOS R6 II. I bought an adapter for it so I could use the lens that I've had for a few years. That's the 70-200, the 2.8. And with a tripod, I went very close to home. I'm on the south end of Palm Springs, so the mountains behind me are like the San Jacintos, the Santa Rosas that go up to Idlewild and over. So it's pretty dark on this side. So I got up on a wash levee, and I was so thrilled when I saw it. It was very exciting.
Did you see it with your eyes?
I did at first. Yeah, that's because I was doing a 360 all around. Okay, where's it going to show up? I had no idea.
Thanks.
You're right. And
Yep.
I don't know about you, but when I saw it with my eyes, it looked, I had like a green tint to the tail. I don't know if you saw that, but
I'm going to share your photo here.
okay. I bought for my camera, I bought an adapter so I could use the older lens, or I said that, but I also tried to put on the extender, the two times extender.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got an error message. It was something wasn't connecting. And I was panicking because, the earth is turning pretty fast and this comet's disappearing pretty fast. And the mountain is there. And like you said, it's like not very long you have. So I grabbed my Pixel. I didn't post my cell phone, but thank goodness I had that. And I took one of the cell phone on Monday night. So again, I went back out on Tuesday night. And so, here it was. It was so wonderful to see it again. And yeah, I didn't, the moon had gotten fuller here. I think it was full this is Tuesday night. And so on Wednesday, maybe it was full, but yeah, it was unfortunate to have the full moon. But yeah, that's it. And it was beautiful to see. Yeah, and it was not that easy playing around with settings.
Not that easy in the dark, right?
No, most of the photos I had, you could just see the trails
Yep.
on everything. So I knew that the very pinpoint light of the comet was also going to be kind of blurry or kind of long. So that's why I just kept playing with different settings, and I finally got one that was, so I ended
That's
up
all you
getting,
need. That's all
right,
you
it
need
was
is one. I was
30.2
grateful for a
seconds.
flippy screen.
Uh.
I was very grateful for my flippy screen. My old 60 doesn't have a flippy screen, so it's too low for me, and my knees are too bad now. I can't bend down. I'm shooting, I'm aiming in the dark, and that's hard too. It's even harder when I on a ball head because you loosen it and it flops,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, where was I? Um, so it was a fun experience. It's a fun challenge.
Yeah, it was. And I used the idea, and hopefully it was right. I thought to myself, I'm supposed to set my lens at infinity. Okay, how am I going to do that? It was because the thing hadn't shown up yet. But I turned around, did a 180, and there was the moon. So I set my focus on that and then turned it off onto manual. And so it wouldn't zoom in and out on me. And then so when I turned around, I just waited for it to drop in. And there it was.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to do it. Yep. Go to infinity. Just focus on something far away. That's all you need to do. So it was very rewarding. It's one of those things that you're capturing time. Remember when that comet came, right? Remember when this comet came. You'll look at those, 3 years, 5 years, because you can't just shoot a comet anytime you want. Milky Way season, that'll be around next year. When you have the comet, if you have the opportunity to break away, and it's bright enough, and that's you'll hear a lot of hype, and then it goes around the sun, and then it fades away. So comets, you'll hear hype about them, and then they may disappoint you. Any questions on location? Any questions on gear? Any questions on editing? we're kind of ready to land the plane here.
There's an interesting comment in the chat. I was in Death Valley shooting some night skies this past week, and um, one of the challenges I had was the focusing, and that's the comment in the chat that focusing can be tough at night. But what I learned was like you take it to infinity, and then you back it off a couple notches, and that tends to give you a pretty clear picture.
Yep. Your best bet is to uh, get it to a star so you can see it. Then use your 5x510, 10 times zoom. Use the little magnifying glass to zoom in, and then pick a star kind of in the center of your screen, and then make that as tiny as possible. And actually, when you do that, when you get it sharp, you'll actually see some fainter stars right around it come in. They'll pop, and then if you move past it, they'll disappear. So look for the main one that you're focusing on, but then keep in mind the one or two that are real faint. That when they get bright, that's your sharp spot. And then just make sure that you're not bumping your focus, which is easy to do. And then editing is a whole nother, it's a whole nother skill, but you're blending your foreground with your background and just making sure that that's as seamless as possible. Photoshop makes it so much easier. Select sky. You can use your own sky replacement. That's a lot easier. Sometimes I'll just, especially when you have a horizon with clouds or atmosphere or light pollution like we did, you can just fade the two together. Just a normal gradation mask will work as well. Uh, hopefully, this was entertaining for entertainment. Hopefully, you learned a little bit and clear skies. We're not in Milky Way season anymore. That's kind of wrapped itself up. I'm going to be giving a I'm actually going to be in Borrego in 2 weeks. I'll be one of the presenters at Nightfall, which is an astro imaging conference in Borrego Springs. So this is my third year in a row presenting there. I'll be taking people around. This year, we're going to be going to the camels and elephants, which is right near the scorpions. So that should be fun. So if any of you are interested in nighttime shooting, Nightfall is free, open to the public down in Borrego Springs, and they do a great job down there. I'll put that in the chat as well. Nightfall. Oh, not that Nightfall. Nightfall. Apparently there's a Chattanooga conference on Astro. That fall. Nightfall Star Party. There are no disco lights at a sky party. They get very upset. Everybody uses the red light. So
What date?